Flamingos can stand on one leg for hours. For us, it's a feat of balance, but for them, it's complete relaxation. Their joints are structured in a way that makes holding the pose easy and almost effortless. Think of it as having a built-in freeze-frame mode. Scientists don't fully understand how this works. It's as if their muscles lock in place, allowing the bird to even fall asleep without losing balance. Imagine a yogi meditating in a complex pose for hours, but without the slightest tension. For flamingos, it's as natural as sitting in a chair is for us. Want to hear one of the strangest reasons for toxicity? Bright poison dart frogs are deadly. Their skin secretes a toxin that can kill a human. But here's the surprising part. They aren't toxic on their own. In captivity, where they are fed a regular diet, their skin becomes safe. It turns out the secret lies in their diet. In the wild, they eat specific ants and insects that contain toxic substances. So, the poison is a result of their nutrition. Nature seems to show that even a small frog can become a weapon if it has the right ingredients on its menu. In the 19th century, watermelon became not only a delicacy, but also a secret ingredient for juices. Watermelons were used not just as a standalone fruit, but also as a base for vitamin blends. They were added to juices to balance the flavor. Watermelon made the drink smoother and more pleasant, reducing the excess acidity and bitterness of other fruits. Imagine a glass of orange juice that's too sour to drink without grimacing. Add a bit of watermelon, and the taste becomes refreshing and harmonious. This technique is still used in cooking today, and it was once a true discovery. You've probably seen a flamingo or a duck standing on one leg. This isn't acrobatics. It's a way to conserve heat. Birds lose a lot of energy through their legs, and by tucking one leg under their feathers, they reduce heat loss by almost half. It would seem wild for us. Try standing like that for even 10 minutes. But flamingos can even sleep while balancing on one leg, like yogis in nature. Scientists call it unilateral resting, but essentially it's just a comfortable habit. Birds know the secret to comfort better than we do. The peregrine falcon is the speed champion among animals. In a hunting dive, it can reach speeds of nearly 400 kilometers per hour. That's faster than a Formula One car. The secret lies in the bird folding its wings, transforming into a living arrow. Imagine watching a pigeon in the sky, and suddenly a peregrine falcon swoops down from above at breakneck speed, catches it, and ascends again. It all happens in seconds, and the prey doesn't even have time to realize what just occurred. This natural predator demonstrates that bird aerodynamics have been perfected. Excessively bright light can harm the psyche just as much as noise. We tend to think of light as a sign of comfort and safety, but too much of it can lead to stress, anxiety, and even headaches. Overly lit offices or shopping centers can be just as draining as loud sounds. Scientists refer to this phenomenon as light pollution for the mind. Just as laundry can't dry in fog, the brain can't rest in a constant stream of bright light. Therefore, it's important to regulate lighting. Sometimes soft, dim light is more beneficial than glaring lamps that turn a room into a sterile laboratory. The story of Arthur Tudor and Catherine of Aragon illustrates that even a common language doesn't always prevent misunderstandings. When Arthur Tudor, the brother of the future Henry VIII, first met his fiancée Catherine of Aragon, it turned out they couldn't communicate verbally. The issue was that their correspondence had been conducted in Latin, but their pronunciations were so different that they simply couldn't understand each other. It's amusing that a language considered universal among the European nobility ultimately let the young couple down. Imagine, beautiful, formal letters, but in reality there were just gestures and bewildered looks. An ant is like a small truck with a two-chamber system. One stomach is for itself, to digest food and gain energy, while the other is for the colony. It stores food there to share with other ants through a special process called trophallaxis. This means ants literally feed each other mouth to mouth, functioning together as a single organism. If one finds a sweet treat, it not only carries it home but also shares it so others know the way to the treasure. It's like if we could eat a pastry and immediately pass a piece to a friend straight from our stomach, along with the address of the nearest bakery. The myxomatosis virus nearly wiped out rabbits in Europe within a few years. French microbiologist Armand Delille tried to control the rabbit population on his estate by infecting them with the myxomatosis virus. However, the disease spiraled out of control. In just a few years, the virus spread across Europe and killed 98% of the rabbits. The culprit was fined, but the damage was done. An entire species was on the brink of extinction. Fortunately, rabbits proved to be resilient and gradually recovered their numbers. This case became one of the most striking examples of how human intervention can lead to ecological disaster. In the dense jungles of Honduras, archaeologists used lasers to discover a lost ancient city that had been hidden by nature for centuries. Laser scanning allowed them to see through the tree canopies and uncover the ruins of buildings, plazas, and pyramids. Local legends referred to this place as the White City, or the City of the Gods, attributing mystical powers to it. Researchers found numerous artifacts that confirmed the existence of a rich culture in the area. It turned out that deep within the forest lay an entire civilization forgotten by humanity. This discovery revealed that the jungles could be not just a home for wildlife, but also a vast repository of human history. In 2019, Bulgarian Vasily Ivanov set an unusual record by blowing out 58 candles in one breath. He used a special device that directed the airflow to all the candles at once. Just imagine the strength of the lungs needed to handle that many flames. A regular person struggles to blow out a dozen candles on a cake, and here he managed a whole string of them. This record made it into the Guinness Book and serves as an example of how even a simple action like blow harder can be turned into a world achievement. In the tropical forests of Papua New Guinea lives a creature that is easily overlooked, the smallest frog in the world. It measures just 7.7 millimeters, less than a centimeter. Weighing about 1/100th of a gram, it hides among the leaves, appearing as a tiny dot. But don't be fooled into thinking it's quiet. Its voice resembles the buzz of an insect and can be heard from a considerable distance. This little one demonstrates that nature can create not only giants like whales and elephants, but also incredible miniature champions. It's astonishing how life and energy can fit into such a microscopic body. At first glance, almonds and peaches seem different. One is a nut, the other a juicy fruit. However, botanists claim they are close relatives and belong to the same rose family. Their pits have a similar structure, and the trees look alike when they bloom. The only difference is that peaches have edible flesh, while almonds are valued for their seeds. It's amusing that when we snack on a handful of almonds or enjoy a sweet peach, we are dealing with cousins. Nature is full of such surprises. Beneath the mask of differences lie familial connections that make the plant world even more fascinating and unexpected. You've probably noticed that sometimes chocolate develops a white coating. Many people think it's spoiled, but no, it's just fat bloom. When cocoa butter rises to the surface due to temperature changes, the taste remains almost unchanged, and this chocolate is safe to eat. It's as if the bar has grayed from stress, looking odd on the outside but still sweet on the inside. Interestingly, manufacturers sometimes explain this on the packaging so that people don't get scared. So if you see that white coating, don't throw it away, just give it a second chance. The computer keyboard is something we touch every day, but we rarely think about how many germs are on it. Studies show that there are often more bacteria on the keys than on a toilet seat. Crumbs, dust, and grease from our hands create the perfect environment for microbial life. Therefore, regular cleaning is not just a whim, but a matter of health. Sometimes simply wiping the keyboard with disinfecting wipes or using a special vacuum for electronics is enough. So, as you type a message or play a game, remember, beneath your fingers lies an entire zoo. And perhaps computer hygiene is more important than we tend to think. When you hear the word bison, it sounds like a joke. But no, bison are a real hybrid of cattle and buffalo. These animals combine the strength and endurance of wild bison with the hardiness of domestic cows. They were specifically bred in the US to create a robust and resilient livestock capable of thriving in harsh conditions. As a result, bison have become true stars of agriculture. They adapt well and produce delicious meat. Imagine encountering a creature in the field that looks both familiar and exotic, as if two worlds have merged into one body. Nature and humans sometimes create unusual alliances, and bison are a striking example of how an experiment can lead to an extraordinary animal. In 2006, a fisherman from the Philippines accidentally caught a giant pearl weighing a whopping 34 kilograms. He kept it under his bed as a talisman for 10 years, unaware of its value. It later turned out that the find was worth hundreds of millions of dollars. Imagine, an ordinary fishing trip turned into a treasure larger than a football. The pearl was named the Pearl of Lao Tzu and is still regarded as one of nature's most astonishing discoveries. The medieval chivalric order still exists and even issues its own passports. The sovereign military order of Malta, founded during the Crusades, is recognized by the international community as a sovereign entity despite not having its own territory. The order has its own passports, stamps, and even currency, the Maltese scudo. It boasts tens of thousands of knights, volunteers, and doctors working around the globe. Many find it surprising that this medieval institution continues to thrive in modern times, preserving not only its traditions but also real legal privileges. It stands as one of the few examples where the past and present coexist side by side. Who would have thought that the hockey mask was invented by a Japanese man? In 1936, goalie Teiji Honma took to the ice in an unusual piece of equipment, a face mask resembling a samurai helmet. At the time, his idea seemed strange, but it later became the foundation for modern protective gear in hockey. Today, it's hard to imagine a goalie without a mask, but it was once considered unnecessary. Honma was a pioneer who blended the traditions of his culture with the sport. Thanks to him, hockey gained an item that has saved the health of thousands of players around the world. Planes fly faster from west to east thanks to jet streams, powerful air currents at high altitudes. Imagine a giant river of air rushing above the clouds. When a plane enters this current, it's like being picked up by a conveyor belt. As a result, the flight from New York to London is a couple of hours shorter than the return trip. It turns out that there are highways in the sky, and pilots make good use of them. We hardly notice it while sitting in our seats with coffee, but it's this invisible wind that makes our journey quicker. In Rome, a pizza over 40 meters in diameter was once baked. It was named Ottavia in honor of the Roman emperor. The weight of this culinary monster exceeded 23 tons. Special ovens and a team of pizzaiolos worked for several days to prepare it. Imagine a square where instead of asphalt, there's a giant crust topped with tomato sauce and cheese. This pizza could feed an entire city. Interestingly, it was completely gluten-free, ensuring that the record not only amazed but also catered to those with dietary restrictions. A true gastronomic spectacle for all of Italy. Want to know the secret of sleep? It turns out that the amount of sleep needed varies by age. Babies require about 10 to 11 hours, teenagers need 9 to 10, adults get by with 7 to 8, and older adults may manage with just 6. Our bodies seem to adjust their internal clocks throughout life. Imagine a child is fussy without sleep, a teenager sleeps in until noon, an adult enjoys rare weekends with long sleep, and an elderly person rises cheerfully at dawn. Sleep is universal fuel for the brain, but each age group has its own refueling norm. Strange but true, there is a philosophy that rejects logic. It's called anti-intellectualism. Its essence is that intuition and action are more important than reasoning. Proponents believe that conclusions are too slow and unreliable, while traditions and experience are more valuable than any arguments. Essentially, it's a philosophy of do rather than think. This approach may seem wild to a rational person, but it has genuinely existed and found followers. Throughout history, there have always been those who trusted their hearts more than their minds. Thus, even in philosophy, there are teachings that consciously reject the very foundation of philosophy, reasoning. Even wild wolves know how to wag their tails, and they do it with a specific meaning. We are used to dogs expressing joy and friendliness this way. But their wild ancestors, the wolves, do the same thing, albeit with a different significance. Young wolves wag their tails in front of older ones, showing respect and submission. Sometimes the tail helps to ease a tense situation. It's a way of saying, I'm not a threat, I acknowledge your authority. Thus, this gesture in dogs is not a coincidence but an ancient legacy. It's amusing to think that when you play with your dog's tail, you are witnessing an echo of the behavior of its distant ancestors who lived in forests and packs. Ocean giants, sperm whales, are capable of communicating over thousands of kilometers. These ocean behemoths use powerful vibrations for communication that travel through water over vast distances. Scientists suggest that one sperm whale can call another located on the other side of the ocean. However, these same vibrations can be dangerous for humans. Getting too close can lead to paralysis or even death. Thus, sperm whales have their own underwater telephone network that operates far more efficiently than many of our technologies. Their language has not yet been fully deciphered, but it is already clear that it is one of the most complex systems in the animal kingdom. Avocado nearly disappeared from the face of the earth and survived only thanks to humans. Once, giant Pleistocene animals, mammoths, giant sloths, and woolly rhinoceroses ate avocado fruits whole and helped spread the seeds. But these giants went extinct, and the plant could have vanished with them. However, humans stepped in. Our ancestors began cultivating avocados and preserving their culture for thousands of years. Today, we see it as a trendy ingredient for smoothies and toast, but in reality, it serves as a living reminder that many species survived only because humans became their partners. Time on Mercury is arranged in an unusual way. This small world completes an orbit around the Sun in just 88 Earth days, but its own rotation takes twice as long, 176 days. This means that one day on Mercury lasts longer than its year. Imagine, mornings stretch on for months, and sunsets are events celebrated like holidays. For astronomers, this is an intriguing paradox, but for future colonists, it poses a real challenge. Living on a planet where days last half a year means completely restructuring one's rhythm of life. Nature has a way of surprising us by breaking the familiar laws of time. Once in the Chesapeake Bay, oysters created real, living islands. In the 19th century, there were so many oysters in the Chesapeake Bay that they literally covered the surface of the water. Huge clusters of mollusks even obstructed ships from passing. But as usual, humans intervened. In just 100 years, they nearly wiped out these colossal stocks. By 2011, the oyster population had declined by 99.7%. From a rich natural carpet, only tiny fragments remained. A stark reminder that nature is not infinite. Sharks have no bones. Their skeletons are entirely made of cartilage. This makes their bodies light and flexible like a spring. Sharks can turn sharply and dart towards their prey with lightning speed like a perfectly oiled machine. This also allows them to grow throughout their lives. Some species can reach lengths of up to 12 meters. Imagine a fish the size of a bus, yet so agile that it can easily maneuver around any obstacles. The secret to its success lies in this paradox. No bones means no weight, only speed and freedom of movement. Beneath the massive feet of elephants lies an intriguing secret. They have unique toes. These special bony structures help distribute their weight and allow the animals to move almost silently. Thanks to them, an elephant walks softly despite its tons of mass. They sense the ground like a cat's pads and provide stability even on unstable surfaces. This is why these giants can calmly tread on sand, clay, or even marshy land. Their gait is remarkably light, and if you close your eyes, you might not even notice a whole elephant sneaking up on you. Nature has once again demonstrated its engineering genius. Regular sand can be transformed into transparent glass when heated to around 1,700 degrees. At such high temperatures, it melts and becomes a liquid mass, which solidifies into a strong and clear material upon cooling. Imagine how ordinary beach sand gives rise to windows, glasses, or stained glass in cathedrals. This was known to the ancient Egyptians, who were the first to create glass ornaments. It's remarkable that from the simplest grains we walk on barefoot, fragile beauty can be crafted that adorns homes and cities for centuries. A regular apple is made up of 90% water. That's why it's so juicy and refreshing. When you bite into an apple, it's like drinking a mini glass of pure water with vitamins. It's no wonder apples are a popular snack for travel. They're light, nutritious, and quench your thirst. Interestingly, thanks to their high water content, apples can be stored for a long time without losing freshness. They are like a natural bottle of drink, just in the form of a fruit. And perhaps one of the most convenient snacks created by nature. The Leaning Tower of Pisa has been considered leaning for centuries, but thanks to the foundation reinforcement, it still stands today. In the 1990s, engineers carried out complex work. They excavated soil from one side and added supports to prevent the tilt from increasing. As a result, the tower was stabilized, and it has even straightened a bit. Imagine, a symbol of Italy could have collapsed, but the efforts of scientists turned it into a stable monument. Tourists still take pictures supporting it with their hands, but now we can be sure it will stand for at least another 200 years. In Slovenia, archaeologists discovered a wooden wheel that is about 5,000 years old. It was made from ash and secured with oak wedges. For its time, it was a true engineering marvel, a component that allowed people to transport heavy loads and build new roads. Imagine an ancient craftsman who first thought to turn a log into a circle and fit it onto an axle. From that moment, an entire era began. The wheel became a symbol of progress. And although it looks somewhat crude, it is from such finds that the history of all modern machines and trains began. Digital clocks are much more accurate than mechanical ones. Electronic devices use the vibrations of a quartz crystal, which functions almost like a perfectly precise metronome. Mechanical clocks, on the other hand, rely on springs and gears, making them more prone to wear and inaccuracies. The difference can be minutes over a month, while digital clocks may only lose a few seconds. Imagine a race. One runner stays perfectly on track, while the other constantly veers off slightly. That's how it is with clocks. Yet the irony is that mechanical watches often become symbols of luxury and style. The number of possible combinations in chess exceeds the number of atoms in the entire universe. Each new move opens up virtually infinite variations in the game. This is why no two games are ever exactly the same. Imagine playing a match with a friend, and theoretically you create a unique variation that has never existed before. This transforms chess from just a game into a true art of strategy and imagination. It's no wonder they call it the royal game. Within those black and white squares lies a whole universe of possibilities. In English, there is a word, strengths, and it is special. It is the longest word with just one vowel. Despite its simplicity, it symbolizes strength, resilience, and endurance. It's amusing that such a word is unique in its structure. It contains 8 consonants in a row, yet it sounds easy and familiar. This little linguistic record shows that even in words, we can find our own championships. Language, like nature, holds its secrets and wonders, and sometimes they are hidden in the most ordinary things, in a word we use almost every day. Butterflies have taste receptors located right on their legs. When they land on a flower, they taste it with their feet. This helps them determine whether the plant is suitable for feeding or laying eggs. For us, taste involves our tongue and lips, while for butterflies, it's a light touch of their legs. So, every landing is like a tasting session for them. It's amusing to think that if humans had the same ability, we would taste soup just by touching our fingers to the bowl, but for butterflies, it works perfectly. Today, the computer mouse is a familiar accessory, lightweight and made of plastic. However, the first mouse, created in 1964 by engineer Douglas Engelbart, was made of wood. Inside, there were metal wheels that tracked movement across the table. The device looked strange and bulky, but it marked the beginning of a new era. It's hard to believe that from such a simple wooden box, modern touchpads and wireless gadgets emerged. This story serves as a reminder. Great technologies often arise from very humble beginnings, and sometimes all it takes is one wooden experiment to change the world. Imagine a person who would have to eat 100 pizzas a day to survive. Tiny hummingbirds expend so much energy that they eat almost every 15 minutes. Their metabolism is so accelerated that if a human had the same, they would need to consume about 150,000 calories a day. That's roughly equivalent to eating 100 large pizzas daily. Without food, a hummingbird can die in just a few hours. So they live in a constant race for fuel. Their tiny hearts beat at an incredible rate, and their bodies operate at full capacity. These birds are like the sports cars of the natural world. In 2017, Emma Morano from Italy passed away, the last person born in the 19th century. She lived to be 117 years old and witnessed a world changing faster than ever before. Imagine, in her childhood, there were no airplanes or televisions. And by the end of her life, people were using smartphones and the internet. She experienced 2 world wars, dozens of rulers, and an entire era. Emma's story serves as a reminder that each person carries a whole library of time within them. And with her passing, the last page of the 19th century was turned. At first glance, it's just a beautiful stone, but in reality, it's a true magician. Alexandrite, a mineral from the Ural Mountains, changes color depending on the lighting. In daylight, it appears green or bluish green, while under artificial light, it transforms into pinkish red or purple. No wonder it's called the chameleon stone. This effect once seemed like magic, and such stones were valued more than gold. Alexandrite is still considered a symbol of change and duality. The same stone shows different faces. It serves as a reminder that life often shifts its colors depending on the light in which we view it. In Norway, they came up with a strange yet fun competition, the championship for throwing frozen salmon. Imagine people gathering in a square, taking a huge fish and throwing it as far as they can. It started as a joke among fishermen, but has since become a tradition that attracts tourists from all over the world. The atmosphere is more like a celebration: music, food, fun, and fish flying through the air. It may seem crazy, but it's these kinds of things that make a culture unique. Every country has its own quirky pastimes. Some have bulls, some have pancakes, and in Norway, there's flying salmon. One of the most popular traditions in the world, tea drinking, was born out of chance. Legend has it that 5,000 years ago, the Chinese Emperor Shen Nong was drinking hot water under a tree when leaves fell into his cup. The water's flavor changed and he enjoyed the drink. Thus, tea was born. Since then, it has become a part of the culture in dozens of countries. Interestingly, billions of people start their day with this drink that was discovered by accident. It turns out that a habit we can't imagine our mornings without once originated from a simple gust of wind. The most numerous bird in the world is neither the sparrow nor the pigeon, but the tiny red-billed quail. This small bird, found in Africa south of the Sahara, gathers in massive flocks and literally devastates grain fields. For farmers, they are a true plague. Thousands of these birds can strip a harvest in just a few hours. The flocks of quails are so enormous that they appear like a moving cloud. Scientists consider them the most abundant bird species on Earth. Ironically, in cities, we tend to view pigeons as symbols of mass presence. But the record actually belongs to these small African weavers. What if I told you that the eyes of mantis shrimp are more complex than human eyes? These tiny predators have unique vision. Each eye has 3 pupils and up to 16 types of light-sensitive cells. In comparison, humans have only 3. Mantis shrimp can see ultraviolet, infrared, and even polarized light. Their vision is so extraordinary that it helps scientists develop new camera and sensor technologies. It turns out that within the tiny body of this crustacean lies a biological supercosmos that surpasses the capabilities of our eyes and even the best cameras. The story of Charles Goodyear proves that even the greatest discovery does not guarantee happiness and wealth. Charles Goodyear, the man who discovered the process of vulcanizing rubber, lived a life filled with debt and legal troubles. He accidentally found a way to make rubber durable and resistant to heat and cold. But instead of riches, he faced endless problems. Goodyear died a poor man, never seeing the recognition he deserved. 40 years after his death, the Goodyear Company emerged, simply adopting his name as a mark of respect. Today, millions of cars run on tires bearing his name, but the inventor received not a penny from it. The story serves as a reminder that talent does not always go hand in hand with luck. Imagine that the North Star is not just a solitary light, but a whole family. We tend to think of the North Star as a lone beacon for travelers in the night. However, it is not a singleton but rather an entire ensemble. There lies a trio, the bright Polaris A, its tiny companion Polaris AB, and the neighbor Polaris B. To us on Earth, they merge into a single point, but through astronomers' telescopes, this celestial trio becomes visible. Picture a lantern where the light comes not from one bulb, but from an entire string of lights. It's symbolic. Even the guiding star, which has served as a landmark for centuries, does not stand alone but is part of a team. Iceland is one of the few places on Earth without mosquitoes. The climate here is such that insects can't complete their life cycle. It's too cold in winter and the temperature changes too rapidly in summer. For tourists, it's a paradise. You can stroll through forests and by lakes without the annoying buzzing. The locals joke that this is one of their country's main advantages. Imagine, summer, a campfire, a tent, and not a single mosquito bite. For us, it sounds like a dream, but for Icelanders, it's just a way of life. We often perceive the nose as just an ordinary organ of smell, but in reality it is incredibly complex. It was once believed that humans could distinguish around 10,000 scents. Today, we know that our nose can detect up to 1 trillion different aromas. It's a whole universe of sensations, from the smell of fresh bread to the subtle notes of smoke or gas that can warn us of danger. Think about it. The nose helps you recall childhood memories through the aroma of grandma's pies or feel the excitement of spring through the scent of damp earth. We tend to consider sight as the primary sense, but the nose is a true superhero, working quietly and unnoticed, saving us from mistakes every day and filling our lives with memories. Did you know that avocado can be deadly for animals? For humans, this fruit is beneficial, vitamins, healthy fats, trendy toasts. But for birds and horses, avocado is toxic. A substance called persin in their bodies causes severe poisoning, sometimes with fatal outcomes. So, what is a superfood for us is a poison for animals. This serves as a reminder that we can't measure everything by human standards. Even familiar foods can be dangerous if an organism isn't adapted to them. What is beneficial for one form of life can be harmful to another. Some crabs turn sea anemones into living weapons. Tiny crabs of the genus Libinia hold sea anemones in their claws and wave them around like living clubs. The anemones sting enemies with their venomous tentacles, protecting the crab, while receiving food and a chance to reproduce in return. If a crab loses its anemone, it can tear another one in half, and that one will regenerate into two new individuals. Nature's way of providing a backup plan. This is one of the most unusual examples of symbiosis. A small crab with living weapon gloves that can fend off even larger foes. Once, oranges were not orange at all. Their ancestors, grown in Southeast Asia, had green skin. Even today, in tropical regions, oranges often remain green, although inside they are fully ripe and sweet. Only in cooler countries does the skin lose chlorophyll and turn the familiar orange color. So, orange is more of a climatic coincidence. Imagine a supermarket where all the oranges are green. People would think they are unripe. In reality, that's how they looked in their true historical form. In Germany, in the town of Oberstdorf, a unique lift has been built that moves diagonally rather than vertically. It takes tourists up the mountainside at a 45-degree angle, combining features of both a funicular and a lift. Imagine stepping into the cabin, the doors closing, and instead of the usual vertical movement, you start gliding as if on a slope. For those who love unusual experiences, it's a true adventure. Moreover, the view from the cabin is breathtaking. Mountains, forests, and sky seem to unfold before your eyes. This mode of transport demonstrates that engineering can be both practical and fun. It may seem like ordinary things, but if you take a closer look, they hold the most unexpected stories. If you enjoyed this journey through the world of curiosities, hit like, subscribe, and turn on notifications. There's even more to come that textbooks have kept silent about.